Hi boys and girls, welcome to Virtual Team Jesus Sunday School and our Kingdom Quest Carnival, where we are still looking for a leader. I'm Deaconess Kim. Now, this week's game is pretty dangerous. We'll be using mouse traps as catapults, trying to score some sweet candy. But we'll have to be very careful. These mouse traps are made to trap anyone who's tempted by the sweet bait, and you really don't want to get trapped. Now, Gordy should be here to help me today, but I don't see him yet. Gordy, where are you? Are you here? Gordy, my goodness, what happened to you?
I think I got trapped.
Well, I hope you weren't playing with the mousetraps for the game when I told you not to.
Well, you see, I was waiting for you, and there was a piece of candy just sitting on one of these mousetraps, and I really wanted some candy, just one piece. So I tried to take one, but then the trap snapped, and it set off another one, and another one, and another one.
Well, it looks like you really got trapped. Here, let me help you get these off. Here we go.
Oh.
There you go. Gordy, I hope you've learned a lesson.
Oh. Thanks, Deaconess Kim. Phew, it was really good to be free. I don't know if you could tell, but it wasn't a whole lot of fun wearing those mousetraps.
I can believe it. And that's exactly what we're talking about today, actually.
It is?
Yeah, we'll be talking about getting trapped and getting free.
Free from what?
Free from sin.
From sin? I thought we were talking about King David. Last week, that king said, "Whatever you want, Lord." He didn't sin or have any failures.
Well, that's not true, Gordy. David was human just like us. He did sin, and he had some failures. We'll talk about that today. But first, I want to teach you and the kids 2 short Bible verses. They're really good verses to remember whenever we face temptation.
Like candy on mousetraps?
Like candy on mousetraps, or anything that we shouldn't do. The first Bible verse is James chapter 4, verse 7. It has 2 parts. The first part is, resist the devil. The second part is, and he will run away from you. So let's say it together. I'll say the first part, you say the second part. Resist the devil.
And he will run away from you.
One more time. Resist the devil.
And he will run away from you.
Good. Here's the second verse. It's James 4:8, right after the first one. The first part is, come close to God, and then your part is, and he will come close to you. Ready? So, come close to God.
And he will come close to you.
Good. Come close to God.
And he will come close to you.
Okay, let's try the whole verse together. I'll say my parts, and you say yours. Resist the devil.
And he will run away from you.
Come close to God.
And he will come close to you.
Well done. So as we look for a leader today, we'll have an opportunity to find out more about David. We'll interview someone who has some experience on the subject of getting trapped by sin.
Who's that?
Well, his name is Mr. Bub. Why don't you sit down, Gordy, and I'll invite him up so he can explain how it is that sin can trap us. So boys and girls, I would like to introduce a guest who's going to tell us about King David and how he got trapped. Please welcome Mr. Bub.
Hello, Deaconess Kim. Hello, kids.
Yes, Mr. Bub. Can I call you by your first name?
Well, I don't go by my first name. My first initials are B-L-Z.
Well, that's rather odd. B-L-Z?
Yes, B-L-Z, Bub. Beelzebub.
Isn't that another name for the devil?
Oh, well, some have said so.
So I should call you Mr. Bub then?
No, you may call me the Trapper, because that's what I love to do.
Okay, Mr. Trapper. I understand that you can tell us something about King David. We've learned that he's a man after God's own heart, and that his success and leadership were because he always said, "Whatever you want, Lord."
Well, not always.
Not always. Please explain.
King David fell into a little bitty trap, and he got caught. One day, when he was on the top of his palace, he looked over the side and saw a beautiful girl. He said, "Ooh, she's pretty." So he asked some people, "Who is that girl?" His servants told him, Her name is Bathsheba, and she is married to one of your great soldiers, Uriah.
So did David just drop it and forget about Bathsheba since she was married?
Ha 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 ha. If he would have, he would not have fallen into the trap. Instead, I want her. I want her. I can't stop thinking about her.
So that's when David got trapped?
Ha! He got trapped when he continued thinking about the wrong desires in his heart. As long as he did that, he could get trapped in something even bigger. This is what he did. King David had one of his servants go down and get Bathsheba. He wasn't just thinking about her now. He was going to do something about it. He was going to steal her as his own wife. I love this because now my trap is getting bigger. First it was just a thought. Now it's an action. When David stole Bathsheba as his wife, she was still married. But her husband Uriah was away in a war. He was one of David's great captains in the army, and he was away fighting battles for David. Ha! While Uriah was helping to fight David's battles, David was stealing his wife. As the trapper, I love it. That's when the trap gets bigger. Now David tried to hide what he was doing. He was trying to cover up, just the way I like it. David gave special orders to the general at the battle where Uriah was fighting. He told the general, when Uriah is at the very front of the battle, near the city walls, everyone else should back up. Then Uriah will be all by himself and the enemy will kill him. And that's just what happened. Uriah was killed, and it was all because David got trapped by his own sin. What started as a thought led to an action, and now David was covering it up by killing Uriah.
That's terrible.
I think it's wonderful. Ha 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 ha. Again, David was trapped and people got hurt.
This is terrible. So did David get away with it?
Well, David thought he did. After Uriah was dead, he had Bathsheba, his wife. Everything would have worked out fine except for that nosy prophet Nathan. Nathan was poking his nose into the whole affair.
What do you mean? Did he help David get out of the trap?
Yes, but I don't want to talk about it.
Ah, yes, I remember now. David did get freed from that trap because he learned not to cover up. Instead, David learned to go to God and ask for his forgiveness. Because of Jesus and because that he gave his life for us on the cross, we can have forgiveness and get freed from the trap.
That's not what I would recommend. I would recommend that you keep covering up your sin. It's much better that way. You'll never get found out.
What do you think, boys and girls? Is Mr. Beelzebub the Trapper right? Well, Mr. Trapper, we know all about your plans and we don't like them. So thank you for telling us about King David, but we don't want you around anymore. Goodbye.
Raha, fine, I'm leaving, but I still have traps I can use.
Wow, that guy is creepy.
And he's dangerous.
Yeah, David got trapped by sin. I think I know how he feels.
What do you mean?
Once I got trapped. I asked my mom if I could have a candy bar, and she said no. I just kept thinking about how much I wanted that delicious, huge candy bar.
Well, what happened?
When she wasn't looking, I took it anyway. I didn't eat it all, though. I knew she wouldn't miss it, so I only ate half of it.
Well, but she would find out once she found half the candy bar eaten.
Not if she found the candy bar half eaten under my sister's bed.
Is that where you put it?
Yeah, so she would get blamed instead of me.
You mean you were trying to hide your sin and blame someone else?
Yeah, I guess I got trapped.
Well, what happened then?
When Judy found the candy bar, she asked my mom why there was a half-eaten candy bar under her bed. Then my mom figured it out.
So it didn't work when you tried to hide it.
I'll say, I got really big trouble, but I learned my lesson because I sure don't like getting trapped.
But we always have a way out of the trap.
Yeah, doesn't God forgive us when we don't try and hide from him?
He sure does. We can always remember that God gave us Jesus. And we can remember that Jesus is God's own Son whose love for us is so big and wonderful that he took all of our punishment on himself so that we could be freed from those traps. That's what happens when we're forgiven.
And when I get freed, I don't ever want to get in those traps again.
I don't want to either. So, Gordy, why don't you close our time together in prayer?
Dear God, thank you for freeing us from those traps that we get caught in when we do stuff that's wrong. Help us to say no to the devil when we're tempted. Help us to remember we can resist the devil and he will flee from us. And best of all, thank you for Jesus and the great way he loves us and frees us from the trap of sin. Amen.
Thanks, Gordy. Have a good week, kids.